morning. I'm Luke Johnson. This is Will Johnson. I have the distinct pleasure of introducing our dad today. We are his offspring, or progeny, fruit of his loins, if you want to give a bit of a little background. We'll see the Hanson gene was latent for a generation before this right here.
You'll see in a moment a recounting of the interesting careers that our dad has had throughout his lifetime and the awards that he's received. And I want to go on record noting that there is absolutely no embellishment in anything you will see in that video.
In a lot of ways, it's a lot harder to introduce someone who is family than it is to introduce someone who's even a close friend. Because it's difficult to think of the right story, right, that captures their character. But I do want to recount a couple of things. So I remember being a kid, and when my dad moved from Dallas to Nashville to pursue his passion for songwriting, that was tough. But I also remember that he never missed a single football game. He'd drive back 11 hours from Nashville to Dallas to see every football game. And when I was in high school, he never missed a single football game or baseball game or football game. And I think that he even made every practice.
He was my backbone through scouting. He coached me through earning merit badges. He prepped me for big camping trips. He talked me through being a leader in the troop, and I lost interest a lot. I wanted to give up scouting a few times. But he knew how proud I would be when I earned my highest rank, and sure enough, shaking my dad's hand when I earned my Eagle Scout rank just about brought tears to my eyes. So he was my backbone through all that.
And then there was that time when I was in high school and we were doing the play Into the Woods, and there was a character in the play, Milky White. It was a cow, and me and my dad and my papa spent time in the backyard basically crafting a three-dimensional life-size cow out of pieces of styrofoam glued together and then shaved down so that they would look like a cow.
And I went to the same high school, and that cow was still there when I went. And then there was the time that the three of us were splitting firewood in the front yard, and it was Christmas Day, and we had just had Christmas morning where we exchanged presents, and we had all received fur vests and fake mustaches as part of our, I don't know where that's probably you. And for whatever reason, we decided to flaunt our fur vests and fake mustaches to any unfortunate passersby in the neighborhood while we were splitting firewood in the front yard. I think we were the only ones laughing at that.
And there was that time when we took a tour of Civil War battlefields by driving up the Blue Ridge Parkway in camping. It was one of my best memories.
He always encouraged but never demanded me to practice my music. My music is my greatest passion in life, and I'm always a bit self-conscious anytime someone hears me practicing. But Dad always erased that self-conscious feeling when I got done practicing, and I would walk back into the living room and he'd say, "Woo!" and the crowd goes wild. It made me feel so much better.
He's a man of many parts. He's an ad man,
An author,
a musician,
a father,
a friend,
a mule-headed.
set in his ways, perhaps.
Yeah, but he has small hands. You get the picture.
But obviously he's not too set in his ways, because I want to affirm that he married Becky, a friend that he knew in grade school, and moved back to Tulsa, which I think,
It was the icing on his cake of life.
interesting choice of words.
Thank you.
But we are delighted to be here celebrating this honor with our dad, and thanks to all of you for being supporters.
Yes. Dad, wherever you are back there, we love you and we're proud of you. Thank you.
Billy Joe Johnston, he prefers to be called Joe, is an award-winning author, graphic designer, songwriter, filmmaker, music producer, publisher, accomplished artist, photographer, and journalist. Joe is a mentor, volunteer, and a Native American. Born in Missouri and reared on the plains of Oklahoma, he naturally embraced the culture of the American West. His family vacations centered on such Western destinations as the Rocky Mountains, Buffalo Bill's grave, Deadwood, and Taos, and his fascination with the history of people, places, and families is unending. Today, he's at home in the outdoors and lives part-time in a log cabin that he restored in the woods of Tennessee. Graduating with the class of 1966, Joe has enjoyed a varied career paved with creative milestones. He attributes much of his success to the foundation he received during his years at Will Rogers High School. He has written, directed, and supervised music for various film and TV programs, from documentaries to hit feature films, including 8 Seconds, and national TV commercials.
Captain, I'm ship's social director, but nobody is sociable.
That's because you dress like a stowaway. You need Hager slacks. Or a Hager sport coat and slacks. Or deck yourself out in Hager's new vested suit. All of Klopman's textured woven fabrics, and at prices that won't scuttle even your budget.
Well, would you look at what 7-Eleven's got for lunch? A great ham and cheese sandwich. And together with a Coca-Cola Big Gulp, sure makes grabbing a quick lunch easy.
There isn't a bigger, better burger anywhere. And once you taste it, we think you'll say,
What a burger!
I knew you'd say that.
We build a bigger, better burger. What a burger!
Through the years, Joe has worked with Vince Gill, Glen Campbell, the Dixie Chicks, LeAnn Rimes, Alabama, Charlie Daniels, and many others. Musical honors include an RIAA certified multi-platinum as writer and producer of the cassette and CD of Blue by LeAnn Rimes, which sold over 6 million copies, as well as numerous other recording awards. In literature, he won the Will Rogers Medallion Award for his book Necessary Evil, Settling Missouri with a Rope and a Gun. Joe also won the Indie Excellence Book Award and Independent Publishers Association Silver Medal for Nonfiction for his Mac Marsden murder mystery, Vigilantism or Justice.
It's a Wild West adventure. It's got horse chases and guns and bad guys and good guys. But it's also more than that. It's a book about loyalty.
He has also published Jesus Would Recycle and other ebooks, How to Fail in the Music Business or Succeed if you'd rather, Gems, and Something from Nothing, The 4 Dimensions of Creativity. He illustrated books for Thomas Nelson and other publishers, and his writing is published regularly in various magazines. With all of Joe's success in the world of music and literature, people are always interested in discovering that he invented the Happy Meal in an era when kids didn't want to go to McDonald's. He later went on to testify for the Center for Science and the Public Interest when they sued Ronald and the Hamburglers for making kids fat.
You actually were one of the masterminds behind the Happy Meal, the McDonald's Happy Meal that was established as an advertising campaign for McDonald's a long time ago.
If you can imagine a world in which kids really didn't want to go to McDonald's.
No.
This is a long time ago, and there was really nothing at McDonald's to attract kids.
They didn't like the hamburgers?
Well, they didn't particularly like the hamburgers. There was no seating. In the beginning, McDonald's was a drive-up restaurant. Oh. You would drive your car up, you would get out and walk to the window, order your food, then take it back to your car and eat it. People didn't even drive away and eat it. They sat and ate it in their car. Mm-hmm. So there was a time when we sat around and looked at this from a marketing standpoint and said, well, we want to attract more young families, all these busy people, and they all have kids, or a lot of them had kids, and so we fooled around, and we really couldn't do anything with the product, so we did something with the packaging. We printed all over the packaging. We printed maze games and word puzzles and number puzzles and coloring and all that, and then we printed on we put the food in boxes. Back then it was all wrapped in paper. Nothing came in boxes. Yeah. So we put the hamburgers in boxes and printed circus trains and all kinds of things on those.
So there was a whole premeditated kind of attempt to appeal to the kids.
Exactly.
To get the kids to talk their parents into going to McDonald's.
Yeah. So it was actually called the Fun Meal to begin with. And it had nothing to do with the food. It was all about packaging.
Right.
It was all selling this idea of having fun. So it really started a revolution in the way people regarded their food and the dining experience, and especially the family dining experience. We didn't go to a restaurant and sit down and order together. We went to McDonald's and got something and drove away together.
So you kind of pioneered that whole trend, which has become such a predominant part of our culture.
I'm sorry.
I know.
And now, ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Joe Johnston.
Glad you're having a good time this morning. Thank you for being here. I appreciate it. There's nothing more inspiring than to be associated with this guy right here. I really appreciate you being here. I have had a lot of different careers. A lot of people would say that I can't hold a job. But I don't know if you students have heard this, but sociologists say that you are very likely to have a number of careers in your life. So that's not a bad thing. Go with that. That's where life takes you. Absolutely. One thing about being here, I don't believe very much in the self-made man. I think we are largely a product of the people around us. And I've been fortunate to have some great ones. So my thanks to my sons, Luke and Will, to my wonderful wife, Becky, my grandson, Eli, and to my classmates of the class of 66. You in this school made me and continue to make me who I am. For my nomination, I thank Jan Davies Weinheimer and Marvin McDill Carnahan and Jan Wright Kazire. Jan was our journalism teacher here when she was fresh out of college, and I have tried really hard to recognize her as my mentor because she mentored many of us, and she did it by setting us free to be creative. The big word for that is she empowered us to go do what she taught us to do. She made us learn 3 vocabulary words every week and then just said, go use them. So we did that. We created a yearbook and a newspaper with teamwork. And, I wanted to write a funny column, and she let me do that. And I'm still funny. Thank you. Okay. So, but we couldn't all write a funny column. Somebody had to do that. And so that's how creativity starts, with one person. But I also believe, and if you students want to take anything away from this, I think this is the nugget in this pilot rather.
is nothing good or worthwhile or important is done alone. Even a painter needs someone to look at the painting. So teamwork is just vital to everything that we do, and it's been vital to my career. Everybody wants to know about inventing the Happy Meal. That was a lot of fun. We did that with creativity, but we also did it with teamwork. It took a group of people to do that. And then we turned it over to McDonald's Corporation, and it took them another 7 years to get it out on the market. So what's the difference? They had the creativity. The difference was that they didn't have the teamwork. So that's what it takes to be successful in this world. By the way, I don't get a royalty on every Happy Meal that's sold. I wish I did. I want to say, it's so humbling to be here among names like S.E. Hinton, Leon Russell, and Rader and Randall. I've been around a lot of famous people in my life. Let me tell you something. If you think these people, you look at these people and say, oh man, that person's really got it together. They don't. They're like all the rest of us. They get up in the morning just trying to figure it out one day at a time, do the next right thing. They don't get up in the morning and say, gee, what can I do today and get into the Hall of Fame? That's not the way it works. You know, Bob Dylan, when he was entered the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, said that he hoped when he started out that he could maybe get a chance to play a few of his songs in a coffee house. So some people, like Bob, figure out what they do, and they just keep doing it, and keep doing it. And once in a while, it turns out right. So that's kind of what I've tried to do. And I think if you students will follow that advice, find what you do, keep doing it, it's going to turn out for you. And following that line of reasoning, I just found out last week that my latest book is going to be published next year by Pelican Publishing. It's a book about the history of Southern cooking. So I just keep doing things like that. Same thing I did here at Rogers. Keep making stuff. And I try to follow Will Rogers' advice when he said, do the best you can and try not to take life too serious. Right on, Rovers.